Okay, let's get started. So I'm very excited to be here with you today. And just a note of warning, this is my first live event with Microsoft Teams. So I hope everything is going to go well. I've got like 3 machines in front of me at the moment, trying to just juggle being a producer and the presenter and all of those crazy things. So we'll definitely see how this goes. But I do hope that you're going to enjoy this. And I do hope that you're going to be learning lots out of the session. So let's get started with PowerPoint. There is a Q&A panel on the right-hand side, so you're welcome to post some questions there or any notes that you want to share. And then I will, seeing as it's just me running this on my own crazy pants, I'll try and have a look at those during the presentation to see what questions I could maybe answer for you. So let's get started. Now, just firstly, I think for those who don't know me, my name is Tracy, and I'm a Microsoft Office 365 Servers and Services MVP, and I kind of focus on digital literacy and productivity and user adoption and change management and training. And I think basically the co-innovation that comes with Office 365. So I'm very, very passionate about this. And with all of us working from home at the moment, I thought it would be a great opportunity to start sharing some cool things with everyone that they could be learning while they're at home. So for those in South Africa, I'm sorry for the late time. I had to try and accommodate for those who are not in the same country as us. So without further ado, we are going to get started. Now, there's a whole list of things that I do want to cover with you today, and I'm definitely going to be spending 99% of it in PowerPoint, of course, and to share some very, very cool tips and tricks with you. And some of these you might know, and some of these you might not know. So have patience for those who still have to learn some of these things. But it's definitely things that I've seen in my training that people sometimes don't even realize is possible in PowerPoint. And I think it's because we assume that everyone knows everything, and it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we've already forgotten what other people still has to learn. So I definitely think that's something worthwhile to just remember when we share details with people and we try and help people. I am going to keep my eye on the one side and then just check and see if there's any questions. So remember, this is me, the one-armed bandit running a live event on my own. I'm so crazy. So I'm going to just keep my eye on the one side and check the Q&As as well. So Ali, you can definitely share the link with people. That'll open in the web. So just for those, someone's just asked the question whether anyone can join the live event that doesn't have Microsoft Teams, and of course you can. So this live event, they can actually watch it in the web. So for anyone who wants to join, of course they can. If you know of someone else who can learn some cool things, please go ahead and share the link with them. This is booked for an hour. I'm going to try and keep as much time as possible for some questions and things. So we might end early, or I don't know. I've always got a lot to say about everything. So I think let's get started. But you can absolutely share that link with anyone really that might want to join. Absolutely. So thanks for those that's here and that has joined us. And the first thing that I am going to start, and I'm going to just mess around right in this presentation of mine, is that I want to just look at working with basic shapes and things in PowerPoint. And as I said, I know that you might know some of these things, but I promise you that there's a lot of people who don't know some of these things. So I really just want to cover a couple of the basics that I think people are missing when it comes to PowerPoint. And also for those who doesn't know me, I've got a PowerPoint tattoo, okay? And that tells you how important PowerPoint is to me. It's always got my back. So PowerPoint is definitely one of those amazing things. I think the first thing that I do want to share with you, and that is, it's not just got to do with PowerPoint. It's definitely with Office ProPlus in general. I don't know if you get annoyed with the fact that when you open a program, it opens up that start screen first, where you have to first look for a file or start a new template or something, and you can actually switch that off. So just to tell you where to switch that off so that it goes straight into a new document, and that's for Word, Excel, and for PowerPoint. If you go to the Files tab and you go to the options in the bottom left corner, and you scroll down in the general tab, you'll see right at the bottom there's a show the start screen when application starts. If you switch that off and you open PowerPoint or Word or Excel or something, it just goes straight into the document. It kind of saves that second or two extra where it goes into that little start screen setup first. So that definitely annoys me terribly, and I tend to take that off. Again, I am just going to go and scroll through. So I had someone who said they're not hearing any sound, so I will absolutely share the recording afterwards, Michelle. I'm actually going to take the recording and clean it up, and I'll publish it through YouTube and on my WordPress blog. So I'll absolutely be sharing it afterwards. And I just want to very, very much make sure. Someone did say that they're not hearing any sound. Can I just confirm? Can someone give me a shout out that they've got image, they can see my PowerPoint, they can see me, they've got audio going? So if someone could just confirm that or shout out and say that it's not going that well. I just want to confirm. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that I do want to talk about is alignment of shapes and things. And a lot of people struggle with that. So I'm just going to have fun, and I'm going to share a couple of tips and tricks with you as I go. I will be sharing this presentation. I will be creating a YouTube video clip that I will share afterwards. So you are welcome to download that clip and share it in your company, upload it and stream, help other people with the training. I just definitely want to help some people. So before I even get started with a specific tip that I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about alignment of shapes and rotation of shapes and the cropping of shapes and resizing of things. But just a tip for those who didn't know, to insert shapes on your PowerPoint or on your ProPlus document, to keep aspect ratio, some people actually get that wrong. So if I wanted to bring in a square on this PowerPoint and I want it to be perfectly square, believe me, the human mind's not that great at getting things perfectly square. Okay, so if I had to take the shape, if I keep my shift button in on my keyboard, it actually creates a perfectly square shape. It might look a bit different on your screen because I'm working on quite a wide screen, but if I then keep shift in, so the same as for a circle, for example, if I keep shift in while I'm dragging it bigger, it's a perfectly round shape. Whereas a human, if you had to do that, it tends to kind of do these funny things. Okay, so that's just a tip for you as well, is to keep in shift when you draw shapes. So the first thing that I do want to show or talk about is alignment of shapes. Okay, now PowerPoint did a while back bring out these little red lines, these guidelines that it shows you when something's in line with something else. But that actually takes me forever to do. It's not something I'm fond of. So it annoys me more than it helps me anything else. So when it comes to alignment of shapes, and that could be text or shapes or photos or anything of that, okay, the easiest is to just highlight across all the shapes on the PowerPoint. And then once they're all highlighted, if I go to the home button, and it's also, I think, under format. So if I go to arrange there, and there's the arrange under the home button, you will see that there's bring to front, send to back, bring forward, and there's a line. Okay, I've actually added it at the top there for easy access, but there's alignment. Now under alignment, I can say align it all left, align it right, top. So the first thing I normally do when I align shapes is I might align it all to the top to make sure that it's perfectly aligned at the top. So there you can see I've aligned it. It's all perfectly to the top now. I don't even have to guess about it. And then also, if I had to go distribute horizontally, you'll see it's going to exactly space it across the page based on the first object that was inserted and the last object that you can see on the right-hand side. So that then puts it in that way. And it works exactly the same if it was the other way around. So if I had shapes that I wanted to place underneath each other like this, and I wanted to align it, I can then select the shapes. I'm going to go to home. I'm going to go to arrange, align. I'm going to say align left, and I can then say align vertically. So that then again places me perfectly on the other side. So that's the alignment of shapes. And as I said, some people don't always know that they can align text or objects or shapes that way. It's much, much faster. So that's under the home tab, and there's arrange and there's alignment. Okay, so the alignment's pretty cool. Then also, while I'm on this, and I am just checking things again as they sound good. Thank you very much. Cool. Yeah. Oh, the background, by the way, just so that you know, that's not a Microsoft Teams background. I painted that a week before Microsoft Teams brought out custom backgrounds. So that took me about, I don't know, 8 hours to paint and about 4 bottles of wine, I reckon. So I'm quite proud of my background on my office wall. It really came out quite nice. So that's alignment of shapes, or like I said, I'm juggling everything here. So I'm definitely just running through and just checking if there's any major questions or anything as it comes up. And at settings of the person, it might be the settings. Yeah, that's always possible. Okay, so that was alignment. That's a quick one and it's out of the way. Okay, then if I look at images and things, of course, the cropping and stuff of images. So I'm going to just very quickly insert a picture, and then also remember, you can actually drag images across. So I just want to get my screen up again. You can drag images across into PowerPoint. It really works well. There we go. And if I have to go and find some images, that means that I can just select it. I'm selecting it from another screen now, so I've got split screen. So I'm actually just dragging it across onto PowerPoint, and it'll bring it to the screen. So when it comes to cropping of images and all of that, I'm going to close that first, so I'll get to that later. When it comes to cropping of images, if you select an image, you'll see it brings up a tab at the top called Picture Format. And under this one, you can do actually quite a lot of cool things. And I'm going to show you a lot of that now. And crop is one of those. So crop is the one that allows me to then actually just use a part of this image, for example, or to drag it smaller or something. So the crop is quite nice for cropping parts of the image, of course. But then also, while I'm in this specific menu, you'll see, and I just want to open up my OneNote. For those who doesn't know, I should actually do a webinar on OneNote, by the way. OneNote is my, man, it's my ultimate thing. I absolutely love OneNote. So, so cropping and resizing. So resizing, again, we spoke about that aspect ratio earlier on. When you resize images, so if I had to drag this from the corner, it normally keeps aspect ratio. And I'm saying normally because not all programs works the same. So I normally keep my shift in just to make sure that it's not going to do something funny with it. And I always joke with my students and say that there's only one time in life that you make an image smaller and bigger like this. And I always ask them if they actually know what that could be. And that's when you want to thin down your holiday photos before you post them on Facebook. So most of the time you want to keep aspect ratio. You definitely want to drag them smaller and bigger from the side. So that's your aspect ratio, and that's the ability to crop images. So again, if you look at the menu that opens up at the top there, and I'm going to just pin this so it stays open. If you look at the menu there at the top, there's crop. You'll see that it gives you little guidelines on the corners as well at the top and the bottom. So I can actually click on that guideline and then drag it from the top, or I can also click on it from the side there and drag it to move to the side. So just want to check. So that definitely works quite well, is the cropping. Now, if I go to, so that's the cropping and aspect ratio on shapes. While I'm on this photo, something that I use very, very often, and just give me 1 second, everyone. I just want to stop this. I've got another third computer on the right-hand side with which I'm also testing the audience view because it's my first live event, and I just want to make sure that that's working fine. So give the one on Bandit and PowerPoint some leverage if you don't mind, because I'm like juggling this whole studio thing happening here. Okay, so that was looking at aspect ratio. That was looking at cropping your images so you can make them smaller or bigger. I think also, while I'm on that point, is that sometimes we use graphics that's very large. And when I'm talking about large now, I'm not talking about the size like this. I'm actually talking about the physical how many megabytes a file is. So sometimes you get photos that are like 20 meg or 30 or 40 meg. I mean, of course, they can be bigger. And that tends to make your files too big as well. So when I work with images and I bring an image in that's too big, you can actually select the image. And if I click on the image and I select it, you'll see that that picture format that comes up at the top there is actually, it's got a little compressed images little file there. So if you look at that, compressed images, it gives you the ability to then make them smaller. Okay, now at the moment it's already on my smallest resolution, but I normally set it down to email or to web. And I can promise you that the quality is still good, but the file will be much smaller. So that's quite a nice tool to use to compress images. So even if you're working on SharePoint Online or something. Sometimes I have files that are just too big and I don't have a fancy pants program like Photoshop or something because I've got PowerPoint. I don't need Photoshop. And then I just bring it into PowerPoint. I select the image. I'll compress it down to email or to web. I'll say OK, and then I'll just right click and I'll save the image out. So don't save it over the old image. Save it as a new file name. Just call it smaller or something. And then you know that you've got a second copy of the file that's not as heavy, if I can put it that way, because to add a 100 meg file on a web page versus a 100 kilobyte file makes a massive difference for how long it takes for the page to load. So that's also a cool tip on compressing images in your PowerPoint, which I think is something everyone can use. So we've spoken about the start screen. I'm just in my OneNote on the left-hand side, I'm just marking off the cool things that I've already dealt with. Alignment of shapes, the crop and resize of things. Then aspect ratio on shapes is important for me as well. And the next thing that I do want to cover with you, and I mean, this is going to be a crazy hour, by the way. I've got so many things to share with you. I don't even know if I'm going to get through them. The next thing that I do want to share with you is the artistic effects that you get in PowerPoint, which I think is pretty cool. So for this example, I'm going to use the same image. I'm going to just kind of make this smaller. I just want to delete those. And I just want to show you what the abilities are when having a couple of images. We're going to just close my design ideas there. So this means that I can actually take this image, and when I go to the picture format at the top there, you'll see that there is artistic effects. There's also coloring of effects. So sometimes, again, I refer to SharePoint pages, or maybe you're building a sway or building a nice presentation. Sometimes I like using an image, but in different color gradients. So I could make this gray, and I can go to this one and say, I want to use the orange one, and I can go to this one and say, I want to use the blue one. This is a very striking effect if you do a banner or something as well. So the colors that you can change on images in PowerPoint is quite cool. And remember, you can use snipping tool or something and just snip it out again if you want to create this graphics for another program, because I use PowerPoint to design images for any app. Okay, this is my go-to Microsoft Photoshop thing that I do everything in. So that's quite a cool thing to do, is to look at the color that you can apply on those. And then the artistic effects is really, really cool. So in those, I sometimes go and find a different looking way. So if you can look at that, and I'm going to zoom in a bit, you can see there, I mean, how neat is that? I kind of like that, actually. That's quite cool. But there you can see that I can go and I can choose different artistic effects for these. So some of them's got like this water or this glittery look to it and this frosted look to it. But there's some incredible ways. So sometimes you're looking for a specific image, but you're just not getting that look and feel that you want. Then this is the thing that you want to do, is go and play around with the same image and look at what the different artistic effects are that you can apply. Something that's really cool as well that that is possible is to do transparency on these, and it actually makes it lighter or not, if that makes sense. And you'll see that it's actually making the image more transparent, and that's quite cool. So if you want to do layovers or have multiple images that it kind of fades out, then the transparency is definitely a very cool thing that you can do as well. So that's artistic effects, and looking at changing the colors. So that's the there that you can see there. So there's color, artistic effects. But of course, in the same ribbon here, you can also look at the corrections of colors. So I can set something as much lighter, or I can make it much darker. So that's playing with how bright an image is or not. And there's more settings there. If I right click on an image and I go format picture, it actually gives me the ability to look at more settings here on the right hand side. So picture corrections, to make it sharper or softer, to set the brightness or the contrast. So contrast normally brings out the more darker or blacker sides to things, or it makes it brighter, to give you an idea. And transparency is there, the cropping is in there as well. So if you right click on an image and you go to format picture, it gives you the ability to go and set those settings that you see there. I'm just checking my Q&As again to make sure that there isn't something happening. Luckily, there's enough personalities in my head to manage this whole live event on my own. I have enough machines to do that. So compression I've already covered with you. I think the next thing that I am going to be looking at is creating buttons, for example. So I used to create a lot of buttons for SharePoint before they got really fancy pants about it and they brought out quick links. Okay, so back in the day, we kind of created our own buttons, but I'm still creating buttons for certain programs that I kind of reuse all the time. So to create a button is really pretty easy. Okay, so I mean, I can just select the square again. And then, of course, if I look at the buttons, you'll see that there's some shadings and things that you can apply. I need to warn you, though, to be careful to use the button at the bottom line, because if that's a button that you're going to take back to SharePoint, for example, that picks up that shadow at the bottom. So be careful of using this last bottom row, because you'll see it's got a shadow at the bottom. I normally use one of these other ones, and you'll see there's quite nice variations, but you can go and color those yourself as well. But what I used to do, and maybe you want to use this somewhere else, is that I used to go create my own icons, and thank goodness we don't have to anymore, because Microsoft adds extra to ordinary, remember, and it makes us all extraordinary. So they've brought out these icons that you can insert, and this was already brought out, I think, in 2016. Okay, it's really, really epic. They've made a lot of updates to them now, so they've loaded lots of new ones. It's really, really, really cool. So let's say you want a button that can be used for people booking leave. So let's first see if you search for leave, if I find something. Is there something? I want to search for holiday. Let's see if I can find a holiday thing. Come on, give me a holiday button. Oh, there's a Christmas tree. Isn't there someone on a beach? That would be nice. Oh, maybe I'm going to have to go for that aeroplane, I suppose. So if I just type plane, let's see if I can pick it up. So I actually saw one on the landing page. Let's just go back. There was one right there. So I'm going to just use that one for now. Now, these icons that you can insert in PowerPoint now is high resolution SVG icons, okay? So you can recolor them as well, which is pretty neat. So if I had to take that icon and say that I'm going to make it white, for example, I'm going to keep my shift in when I drag it smaller, which means I can now put a little icon on a button there, and I can use that as an icon somewhere. So again, back in the day when I used to put SharePoint buttons on pages, but you might still have SharePoint on premises, you can then select both those images together, and you can just go and save this as an image. So if I go save this as a picture now, I normally have a little folder just for my buttons so that I can reuse them. And if I go into that folder, I'm going to just call this the holiday button and save it. So you could insert that button then on any of the programs that you use when you need buttons. So if I go insert pictures, let's try that again. And let's just go straight to pictures there. This PC. And where's my buttons? And there you can see that it's one image now. You can actually bring that in as one single image. So to create little buttons and things that you use for other things is pretty cool. Just while I'm on that icon, so I'm going to insert another icon, and let's quickly see what I can find. That's pretty cool. So checking the audio there. I want to find something that's got multiple objects in it. Ooh, let's see, maybe that can work. Again, a reminder that this is high quality SVG icon. So if I go to this icon, as mentioned, I can change the colors, right? And that's pretty cool. So for this girl who used to steal icons off the web, that's made life a lot easier. So if I right click on the shape, you'll see that there's something called convert to shape. And if I click on convert to shape, it allows me to then select parts of that graphic. So that's even cooler. So sometimes you might want to just change the graphic a little bit, or to change the color to be looking different. But that, of course, is only possible if the graphic is compiled in such a way that it's loose shapes. Okay, not all of them are. So I don't think the aeroplane is one. We can test the theory. Let's see if it is. That's definitely just one icon. Okay, there's no separate parts there. So this one, of course, has separate little parts there. And oh my word, I can actually even make some changes there, which is quite cool. So that is using the icons that's in PowerPoint, of course. I'm not going to demo it now, but I thought I'd just show it to you as well, because a lot of people don't know that. The dictation that exists in Office ProPlus is phenomenal, people. I can dictate text to PowerPoint. I can do it for Microsoft Word. I can do it for emails as well. It really, really works amazing. So please remember to use dictation in the Office ProPlus apps. It's pretty cool, right? So design ideas we're going to get through later. The eyedropper in PowerPoint is something that I do want to look at quickly. That's also been there like forever, okay? But again, a lot of people are missing the point. They don't know that it exists. So I'm going to insert another image, and I'll just do this straight from my desktop. So let's just make this smaller. So I'm zooming out at the moment, people, just by using my control button and the scroll wheel on my mouse. So I do that a lot in PowerPoint so that I can see my image, and then I'm going to just zoom in again. Now, if you want to pick colors off an image or maybe off a logo, if I want to use a couple of shapes in this PowerPoint, and I'm going to put text on them, for example, and I want them to be exactly the same color as the colors that I have on the PowerPoint, for example. So let's just do that. And we'll then say that this shape, and if I go to shape fill, you'll see that there's an eyedropper. That's been around forever, okay? So if I go eyedropper, that means I can pick colors out of the image. And believe me, we sometimes think that we kind of got it waxed. We can pick colors like that. Believe me, you don't. As soon as you see it on the presentation screen or something, you'll see that the colors are different. So remember to use the color picker. It really works quite well, and it exists in some of the other apps as well. So the color picker is quite cool for then selecting images that exactly matches the images that's in your PowerPoint. So definitely a cool thing to use is the color picker. So that's the eyedropper or the color picker. And then remember what I said as well about the transparency on the images. So that's quite a cool thing to use. So to set transparency, but I can even do that on shapes like these. So let's quickly take a look and just see if it opens up the transparency for me here. So remember, when I had the photo open, it had transparency here. But for me, normally the easiest way to do that is that I'll just go to the format of the shape, and this is where I can set it. So if I set transparency on multiple shapes, I normally set them exactly the same. I don't know, OCD kicking in, I suppose, age. So that means you can actually pick up transparency on images as well. And I do that quite a lot if I do overlays. So that's quite a nice way to bring in text boxes that you can put text over for your PowerPoint. So a cool little tip there is to use the eyedropper, and of course to set the transparency on things as well. So we've done insert icons. Of course, the online pictures exist for quite a cool time now as well. So when you go to pictures, you'll see that there's the option to actually insert online pictures. So remember that you can go and search for images, and it's actually got a filter on there that says that this is non-copyright or royalty-free or those type of things. So just check your copyrights on those as well. So the next thing that I do want to share, and the next thing that we are going to look at is hotspots. Okay, so for those of you who might have worked with SharePoint before, we used to do image maps in SharePoint. That was pretty cool, but also very, very slow. So everyone hated us for it. But it was quite a cool thing to do. And I thought I'd just share a nice tip with you on how I've used PowerPoint to create image maps, because SharePoint Designer doesn't exist anymore. So anyone who is using SharePoint can definitely get value from this. So what I've done in this PowerPoint, there's actually a background image in there. So you'll see there's just the image with icons. And what I've done on top of these text boxes, I've inserted the shape, and I then made the shape transparent. Okay, so, and then I right clicked on the shape and I added links to it. So I got links from SharePoint pages, and I put that on shapes here. And what I then did with this PowerPoint is that I saved it as a PDF. Okay, and then this PDF, I could then, and I just want to open the site so I can show you, I could then bring this PDF in on a SharePoint page as a file viewer. So for those of you who has seen those, you can add a web part that's called a file viewer. And all I did is I added that one page PDF to the SharePoint page. And because of those links that I placed on it in PowerPoint and saved it as a PDF, it then keeps those links. So you'll see that when I hover over those areas, it actually shows a little hotspot, a clickable spot. And there's a URL that it will navigate to. So I created multiple pages. And this is such a cool way to build out processes and things. Or induction, imagine that, when you want to explain a process to people, or what's the next steps that must follow. So this is simply a file viewer on SharePoint, and I created it with a PowerPoint, which I then saved as a PDF. And that means that when I click on that link, it actually navigates to that specific page, and I can then navigate back again. So it's a pretty cool thing to do. It's a normal PowerPoint that I put together. And like I said, I inserted shapes, which I went and made transparent. So zero color, zero line. And on that shape, I then put a link. And then all I did is I saved it as a PDF and I used it on the file viewer. I did write a blog about that. So you'll definitely, if you go to my blog and you search for hotspots or image maps, you'll definitely find it. So I'm going to just close that one because I've had enough fun with that. So let's go back to my PowerPoint. So let's see where we were. So that's the hotspots. And as I said, I'm just running through a lot of crazy cool things that I think can add a lot of value to your life. So the next one that I do want to show is design ideas. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen design ideas and was probably not sure what design ideas are supposed to do. So here we go. I'm just checking, everyone. I'm just checking my Q&As again and see what's working. So design ideas was also brought back quite a while back, okay? And the first thing that people think is that it's only got to do with images. So if I had to change this layout of this page back to the normal title and slide layout, you'll see that the design ideas comes up automatically because it doesn't work on a blank page, and it also won't work on a company template, by the way, sadly. So there it just like starts coming up with random things, okay? Now that's not what I want to do. I actually want to bring some images into the slide. Now I'll have to actually go and research that, but it started out with 4 images that you can add, and then they've changed it now to 6 images, okay? It might be that it's even more. So I would suggest that you go and try that out. So I'm going to take 6 images and drag it onto this page, okay? I've just gone and picked some really, really colorful images that you can use. And I must remember, I'll show you some cool tips with sites that you can use with graphics. Now look at that, peeps. I mean, that's like, I don't know, is that a second or something? So you can now go to the right-hand side and you can pick images and say, I want to use that image. That really works for me. So now, if you've ever seen my YouTube videos, you'll know where I get my slides from. I create a lot of graphics this way. So by going here and saying, oh no, I like this. Sometimes I just use this one and I snip the little banner at the top there and say that I want to use that on a SharePoint page or as an email banner or something. It's just so fast. And then sometimes I just use the image as a background. So I'll just delete those title boxes and I'll then use my snipping tool and I'll snip that and create an image, or I'll just save the PowerPoint as PNGs. Okay, so very cool thing is design ideas. I don't know if you can add more than 6 images. I haven't tested that lately, but it's a pretty cool thing to use. This will not work in company templates though, so you'll have to do it in a blank PowerPoint first, grab the image and then bring it across to your company template. Okay, so while I'm on this and while I'm on design ideas, I'm going to create another slide. And again, it's got to be this title and text slide. Okay, so let's do a little test. And we say, what's important to Tracy? And capitals, people, we're important enough to have capitals. And let's, I don't know who knows me well enough, but motorcycles, I think, is one of the first things. Training people makes me very happy. Cupcakes is definitely high on my list at the moment. And traveling, I just absolutely love traveling. So see how I've used text. Now, check out what happens here on the right-hand side. I mean, how unbelievably cool is the AI that's built into Office ProPlus at the moment? See how it's brought in icons automatically? So I can actually, based on that text that I just typed, I can actually go and pick a different layout and say, man, that's pretty cool. I like that. Or that even looks better. So to be very honest with you, when design ideas was brought out for PowerPoint, I was a little bit miffed about it. Okay, for those who doesn't know what miff is just being miserable in South Africa. Okay, that's what we call being miserable. Okay, and I thought kind of like, I don't like this. I don't like something else making decisions for me. I mean, I want to create my own images and things, and don't make a mistake. I can create images that looks like this, but it takes me hours to do. And at some point I realized that I can do so much more if I just trust this to do it. It might not be exactly what I wanted, but sometimes it's actually better. So the design ideas in PowerPoint's absolutely amazing. Please go try it out. Even if you just use the design ideas like these to get some inspiration of putting some images together. And at the moment, I'm showing you how to use PowerPoint to create graphics, okay? I know you didn't quite expect that, because of course PowerPoint's a presentation tool as well. So I can remind you this, that no matter how good your content is, if it looks terrible, it's going to go down like a lead balloon. Okay, so please think of zhooshing up some of those things that you do, because images always works better for data. Text alone on that, this will work much better to say what's important to Tracy. I can then maybe go and change this a bit and say, yeah, that looks terrible. I'd rather have that to be a black slide, and I definitely want it to be, where's my, like that. You know, you can go and make some small changes and say you want it to look like that. So that's design ideas, which I think is incredible. I don't think I can live without it anymore, to be very, very honest. I use it all the time. Okay. So design ideas, pretty impressive little thing. Online pictures, I've already discussed with you. So then, of course, as well, if I look at PowerPoint, and most of you might know this, there's the smart art as well. So if I insert smart art, and I definitely use that quite often as well, I create some cool things with smart art. There's quite a lot of cool things you can use with smart art. So if I wanted to build a little, I don't know, cool pie chart or something, or say, hey, here is the things I want to add. So I just want to change the layout back to blank. Don't stick to the boring stuff, people. It's only giving you some things to think of. So don't stick to the boring stuff. If I go to this image and I go to the smart art design at the top there, this is where you can change the colors. So I'm like, nah, I like that more. That's raining in Pretoria, by the way, some very cold weather. I don't know who's on the call who's from South Africa, but jeez, I gave training this morning in my Superman onesie, because that's how we should be doing things from now on. So you can definitely shade it better. You can change the look and feel of the smart art. So don't just leave the one that you get. Go and look at the colors that you can maybe change, and then mess around with the smart art. So the smart art's definitely quite a cool thing that you can use as well. Then let's see. I'm going through a list like this, people. I've got so many things. I'm sure I can do like a 5-day course on PowerPoint. It's just crazy. So smart art I've covered. The next thing that I do want to cover is stripping out backgrounds. Now, a lot of people didn't even know that's possible. Okay, they kind of just didn't realize that. I'm checking my Q&As again, Pete. So I'm just scrolling through here and seeing what's happening. So when it comes to stripping out backgrounds, and there's actually a story behind this, because with me, there's always a story behind everything. Friends of mine got married like many, many years ago, and they got married like in their garden, okay? And not garden, let's not call it a garden. And this place was surrounded with like vibacrete walls, okay? I don't know if that's known as something different overseas, but anyway. But I won't say the prettiest setting for wedding photos. And then we also had curious neighbors hanging over the wall, checking out what was going on. So as beautiful as she looked on her wedding day, her photos weren't that great because of the background, okay? So I figured out how to cut out the backgrounds and put them on other backgrounds, okay? And that's kind of how I got started with my craziness in PowerPoint, I suppose. So the example I'll very quickly show you, and let me just find it. I just went and I went and found this picture. So I had, this is my team's background. This is me and Heather Newman and Mike, who's the Yammer man, by the way. I think that was in Copenhagen, I think so. And I'm going to just show you how you cut out backgrounds. Now, Heather, you are going to have to forgive me for this one. I'm not cutting out you for any other reason, for the fact that there is a bit of a space between us. Mike is just too close to my shoulder. He's going to take forever to cut out. So at the moment, I'm going to just cut out this background. I'm so sorry, Heather. I'm going to drop you on this one. But it really is because you're not standing that close to us. If I click on this image, I can actually go and say, picture format, and at the top right-hand corner, left-hand corner, you'll see there's remove background. I call this effect, and I'm sure I've got to ask Microsoft if we can rename it, but I call this effect the Bonify, okay? Because it goes and makes it like a Bonnie purple, and it's going to guess what it wants to cut out, which is quite cool, but it doesn't always guess perfect. So you'll see that there's two buttons there. The one's mark areas to keep, the one's mark areas to remove. I'm going to choose the mark areas to keep, and I'm going to just kind of zigzag there through me so that I don't completely get lost. I'm going to see if I can take Mike out as well. That's horrible, though. Don't think that I want to remove my friends. I'm just making a point here. So let's quickly just make that. So I want the mug in there. Most of my head's in there. You see, Mike's going to be tricky, but I can try. So let's see if I can take Mike out of the picture completely and Heather, and it's not because I'm removing my friends, peeps, it's just because I found a cool picture that could work. So let's see if this works, if it does the guessing game. Yeah, it's nearly there, peeps. Maybe a little bit more. And a little bit more there. It's not going to be perfect, but for this example that I'm showing you, it's going to have to do. I've lost my thumb in the process. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Let's see if I can get it back quickly. A little bit of my thumb's back. But the nice thing about this, and it's got nothing to do with removing my friends, but if you have to chop up parts of images and you want to use it somewhere else. So this was me selecting what I wanted to remove and what I wanted to keep to stay. So if I click outside of the image now, you'll see that it's actually going to keep that now, which means then I can bring another background in, which this was also one of my team's backgrounds. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to the front. And that's me now at, what is it, the Golden Globes or something? So that's me now being part of that picture. I mean, who cares about that fancy pants actress? I'm in this picture now, okay? That's me. Now, the funny thing about this is, I mean, I've obviously done this a lot, is because of, yeah, someone's going to pick up on the thumb, but you can change that a bit. If I click on this picture format, by the way, don't make a mistake. You can still go and chop and change the colors a little bit. So if I look at the color, I sometimes want to see if there's something that's a little bit yellower. Oh, there we go. Perfect. No one would ever know I wasn't part of that picture. So please remember, if you ever see me sharing photos on Facebook, you better double check the content, okay? Because that's how quickly I can change something completely in PowerPoint, okay? So I hope that that's a cool thing that you can go and try out. But there you could see that I could cut out backgrounds. I could slightly color it to make it look different. And there we go. I'm at the Golden Globes. So that's a cool thing I definitely wanted to show you, was removing backgrounds. And then the next one is, so let's just quickly check where, there we go. The next one I want to look at is morph transmissions, or transitions, sorry. And I know that I've shared like 110 cool things already, and man, I've got like 20 minutes left. So I've got a pre-built one that I normally use for training. So I'm going to just walk you through it without building it from scratch. Now, most people know what animations are, so that's how you stage things to come in on slides. So the text slides in, or the little icon comes in or something. And most people know what transitions are. So transitions are those boring common things that people does between slides. So that's the curtain that opens, and the paper aeroplane, and the crumpled paper, and the, people sometimes overdo it, okay? So this slide that you see here in front of you doesn't have a single animation on it, zero. And what I've done is I've selected all the slides. I've just selected them. And I've gone to transitions, and there's a transition called morph, okay? And what morph is going to do, morph is going to find similar objects, similar photos, similar text, and morph it into each other as the slide moves. So if I go and I select morph, you'll see that there's effect options. I can set the morph to only be on objects or on words or even on characters, okay? And then it does a little word, character, and morph. So that's pretty cool. It's on words at the moment, and I normally set my duration to 1 second 25, okay? So I want to just keep on checking that this is showing. So see, there's the same guy, but there he is on the other side of the page. There he is again on that side. See that there's icons that I've repeated, and you'll also see that there's specific words that I've repeated between the slides. So here as well, there's a star, there's a little dog, there's a little dog. So let me show you what morph is going to do to this. I'm going to put this into presentation mode. I've got to just monitor and make sure that everyone can still see everything. So that's on my first slide. Not a single animation is set on this, and I've set the transition to use morph. And as soon as possible, I can then click next. So let's see what happens on the slide. How cool is that, people? I'm going to go back again because this always gives me goosebumps. So if you don't get goosebumps from this, then whatever, okay? Check how cool this is. Check what happens with that photo and with those icons. How cool is that? Morph. I didn't do that. I didn't set animations. So now check again what happens to the next slide. So see how he turns around and the icons go smaller and bigger. Now let's look at that little star. I think that didn't work. So let's go to the little dog. So see that little dog that's there? I've used a similar icon on the next page, and that again I've turned around and I've changed the color. Check it out. Check it out. How cool is that? So that's called morph, people. You need to go check that out. I've definitely done videos on all of these things, so, and I will be sharing this video as well. So you are welcome to go show people that cool couple of things. Okay. So not saving that one. I should have though. I should have gone and posted that on Facebook. So that's using morph in PowerPoint. And I just want to check any questions again. And then the next one that I do want to show you is Zoom. So Zoom does the following. So if anyone's ever heard of Prezi, it's very similar to Prezi, okay? So this specific slide that you see here, this is more of a training slide. I would never put so much text on a normal PowerPoint presentation. So this slide is about the 8 pillars of digital literacy, and each of these 8 pillars has a text slide that supports it. So I can go and say, this is what cultural and social understanding is, this is what this is, but then I want to go back to my picture, okay? So what you can do if you want to zoom into certain areas on your presentation and come back is that you insert something called the section zoom. So there's all my slides, and all I did is I'm going to just insert a new picture and just show you what it looks like. Is I went on a blank slide and I said insert, and I went zoom, and I went section zoom. It then says, okay, Trace, where do you want to zoom to? So I'm going to say I want to zoom to that slide, that slide, that slide, that slide, that slide, that slide. I wonder if it's zooming to sections now, or there we go. So see there, it gives me those slides all like smaller. I'm going to make them a tad bit smaller. And then the only thing that I did, people, is that I inserted a background image on it, because that's pretty boring. Okay, I mean, there's no way I'm going to do this. So all I then did is that I brought this background image in on it. And there you can see the little slides that I've brought in. Now imagine where you can use this. So imagine that this was a project Gantt chart, and you can zoom into a specific deliverable or an area on the project Gantt chart, and then it zooms into a slide and then says, here is the details about that. Or imagine that this is a world map, and you've got these little hotspots for slides on the world map, and if you click on that, it zooms into that country and it says, this is the stats for that country, and these are the awesome team of people that works here, and blah, 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 blah. So get creative and use background images. I'm going to just delete that slide that I just created. So there's my little slides that I added. And some of them I've turned upside down. I've turned them on their sides and everything to create a bit of a visual thing. So let's go into presentation mode and check this out. We'll just give it a moment or two to show. And there we go. So if I now want to deliver this, so I'm pretending like I'm delivering this course about digital literacy, I'm going to say that, okay, people, today I want to talk about the 8 pillars of digital literacy. And the first one we're going to start with is critical thinking and evaluation. So let's go there. So see there, my mouse makes a little hang. I'm going to click on that, check it out, check it out. How cool is that? And then I can go blah, 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 and this is what you need to do, and that's what you need to do. And then I'm going to click and look at it. It goes back to that slide, and that's what Zoom does. So let's pick another one. I can say, okay, so let's talk about practical and functional skills. So remember, I've turned the little slide down its side. So if I go practical and functional skills, blah, 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 so and so and so, and then I go, and then if I click, it goes back again. So please think of this for reporting, for anything. Just get creative and put an image in the background and do this little roadmap. I mean, it's brilliant for roadmaps as well. So you can have this beautiful roadmap for a project, and it's got these little hotspots that goes to other slides, and then you can draw into those areas and you can actually come back to the main slide. So Zoom is definitely also one of my most favorite things that you can do in PowerPoint. Now, one of the last things, because I am getting towards the end of this, and then we can definitely chat and see if there's any questions. I want to make sure that I can answer any questions you might have on the Q&As. So I'm going to just, let's do this. I'm going to open a new PowerPoint, okay? So I don't know if you've ever used recording in PowerPoint. So I'm on a blank PowerPoint slide at the moment. And if recording doesn't show, you'll see there's my recording tab. If recording doesn't show, I want you to go to File, Options, and under Customize Ribbon, if you scroll down, you'll see that there's a recording tab there. And sometimes, for some odd reason, it's not ticked. So you have to just go and tick that recording button, okay? Once the recording button is on, then you can use PowerPoint to make recording of videos. It doesn't have to be PowerPoint that you're recording. It could be anything that you record. So all you have to check is what does it Alt-Tab to, because that's what it's going to record. So remember, Alt-Tab toggles between 2 programs. So you've got to make sure that you open up the program that you want to record, because it's going to go back to that. So I'm going to go and say, oh, I want to show you how to do Zoom. So if I Alt-Tab back to the clean one, and I go that I want to do a screen recording. So there at the top is a button that says select the area. So when I record websites, I normally take the URL out at the top, or I remove the taskbar at the bottom or something. Do you want to use audio? Do you want to use the pointer? And then I can start recording. So let's just give it a moment. There we go. So in today's video, I'd like to show you how the section zoom works. Now remember, I'm doing a video now. So I'm going to insert a page, and let's just go new slide, and then I'm going to go insert section zoom, or which one you want to use. I'm going to select the slides I want to zoom to. I then take those slides and make them a little bit smaller, and then I put an image on the background. It's pretty easy, and then it just works amazing. Now, if I move my mouse to the top, you'll see it brings up again, stop the presentation. It's going to then drop a video in PowerPoint. So that's a video, peeps. I'm going to make it smaller so that you can see. Look at PowerPoint wanting to give me design ideas. So that's a physical video. You'll see that there's a video bar at the bottom. So I'm going to click play now, which is going to sound funny when I hear my own voice. I won't do it to you too long. But this is a physical video. So if I click play, check it out. How amazing is that? So you won't leave it in PowerPoint necessarily, but you would right click on it and go save media as, and it then saves a little MP4 file, which is brilliant. Then you can go and upload that on Microsoft Stream and share it with people in Office 365. So it's brilliant for little training videos. Please remember that you can do recordings in PowerPoint. If it doesn't show, go to File, go to Options, and under Customize ribbon, you can switch it on. There's a little recording button. So that's the recording function in PowerPoint. And that, people, brings it for me to the last thing that I want to share with you. So in PowerPoint, we've got a couple of minutes left. In PowerPoint and all the Office ProPlus apps, you'll see that there's a help tab at the top. If you, after the session, go and you think, man, what was that thing that Tracy said, that Zoom thing or that whatever, how does that work? Why don't you go to the help tab, go to show training. You've got to be online, peeps. And I'm going to just search for Zoom. So it says there, get to view Zoom, take me there. Using Zoom, let's see. Use Zoom for PowerPoint to bring your presentation to life, I think. Oh, and look at this. Check this out. I mean, just give it a moment. One momento. My sound, the audio is obviously down at the moment, but how incredible is that? You can watch a video right there. It'll give you examples. It's got training. It's really, really incredible. Okay, so please consider using the help tab as well. And then just for those who wants to learn some better presentation skills, there's a video on YouTube. It's called Death by PowerPoint. It's the best 20 minutes I've ever spent watching a YouTube video clip. Okay, Death by PowerPoint, the guy shares really incredible tips and tricks on building better PowerPoint presentations. Now, peeps, that kind of brings me to the end of this. So I'm going to just check the Q&As now. I do want to ask, and it's absolutely up to you if you don't feel time for it. I've created a short little survey. I would love to have your feedback. I really want to continue creating these little webinars. So there's a little survey link in the Q&A. If you're prepared to fill it in for me, I'd really appreciate that. I want to know what topics you want to hear some webinars on. I want to know whether you enjoyed this. You're welcome to rate me. If you give me a bad rating, I don't care. Red wine fixes everything, so I actually don't care. So I'd love to know if there's more things that I can help you with. And then I'm going to scan quickly. I thought I saw a stream icon in your PowerPoint when you did the screen recording. Did I see correctly? Absolutely. So that might be that the feature is not released yet. Please remember that there's a couple of seconds, about 20 seconds between a delay between the live event and what you can see. So I might be answering this late, Michelle, but it might be that the settings is not released in your ProPlus yet. They might be keeping the settings back. But it might also be, and I don't think it's in your case, it might be that the stream license is not assigned to you. So just check that to see if it's not showing. I'm just playing guessing game there, by the way. But you did see the recording. I've got a little publish to stream, which I think is pretty incredible. Okay, so I'm going to just scroll up and see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions. So I want to see if I see anything else. to see if there's anything. Is there any questions? Is there anyone who's got, isn't a multiple selection? Give me a moment, give me a moment. Why did I not make that? Hold on, hold on. It's a multiple selection now. Sorry, Anonymous. The question number 3 was not multiple selection. That was an accident. I'm so sorry, but I fixed it. So it should work now. I really thank you, everyone. I'd love your feedback. It was my first live event. I'd really love to know. There is a comment box as well. So if you have some crazy things to share with me, I definitely would love to know that. So in live events, you can slide up another screen. So let's try this out quickly. I'm going to send this live, and I'll do another like final little message just to everyone to say thank you so much for joining. And I really enjoyed having this. I love sharing PowerPoint tips and tricks. I love being creative. I hope that you were inspired and that you learned a lot of cool things from this. And I'm going to keep on trying to share webinars to help people, regardless of the lockdown, people. It's not about the lockdown. I've written loads of blogs. So you can follow me on Twitter at Tracy VDS. You can find me on YouTube, Tracy van der Schuyf. You can find my YouTube, my WordPress blog, tracyvanderschuyf.com. And go follow me if you want to learn more. I've done loads and loads and loads of blogs and videos and things. I'll just share that again as well. So look at me multitasking and going into producer mode. So this is always something that's important for me, is that please remember, and I've got to just find my right PowerPoint now. Please remember that you don't need to know everything, okay? As long as you know everyone who does, okay? And that is about surrounding yourself with community. So reach out on community. There's awesome groups on Twitter and on Facebook. There's lots of people on LinkedIn. Reach out to those people, chat to those people. Please, I don't know, like become part of the community, ask questions. There's always people that's prepared to help. Go follow me on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on, I don't care. I'll share loads of tips and tricks. I'd love your feedback. So thank you so much for those of you that are in South Africa. Will you do a more advanced webinar on PowerPoint? Gee whiz, it depends, Tammy. What do we consider as more advanced in PowerPoint? If you guys reach out to me on Twitter, or you can fill it in on that form that I've shared, if you want to tell me what you consider as more advanced, so I could maybe do presentation skills, so building better presentations, because today I definitely did more on graphic design. So you can definitely ask. So what is the blog you mentioned? I'm going to give you that links quickly. I've tried to trim videos in PowerPoint, but had issues with saving the trimmed version. I've absolutely done the saved version as well. So it might have been a glitch because I didn't really struggle with it, but we could, I'm sure I've done that in a video somewhere. So I just want to quickly send you my link to my blog. So tracyvanderschuyf.com. So there's my blogs link, and oh no, I think I posted that in the wrong place. Hold on. Make an announcement. Let's try that. HTTPS tracyvanderschuyf.com. That's my blog, people. My Twitter handle is TracyVDS. You'll find me as Tracy van der Schuyf on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So you are welcome to go stalk me. I promise you that my company's mission statement, and it's my private mission statement as well, is to facilitate the evolution of human capabilities. So if that's the one thing that I can do, then that's the only thing that I can do. I mean, that's all I want to do, is to help people. So absolutely, just want to say, everyone, I have shared it. I just want to see if there's any new messages. Let's quickly check. Gee whiz, I might have missed something. Next training date and time. Learned a lot of things. Thank you. Cool training. So training date and time. I'm going to see to try and do this once a week. So I might just go check me out on social media tomorrow. I think I'm going to push another one next week. I'm going to try and do it next week. Otherwise, it's definitely going to be every second Tuesday continuously. Okay, so I'm going to try and do that. Reach out. Stay amazing, stay healthy, stay safe wherever you are in the world. Be awesome, and please go share these things with other people as well. And thank you so much for joining me today. I will be sharing a revised video of this on YouTube as well as on my blog. And thanks for your feedback. I really appreciate that. You just stay awesome. Thanks for joining me.